We're four friends with hot takes on food media.
And we're here to review and recap all kinds of food shows in bite-sized seasons.
Plus, virtual potlucks, cooking adventures, and food memes.
Welcome to Pod Appétit Gourmet Takes.
Thank you, everybody, for joining us. This is another Reddit talk on r/food, and we are going to get started. All right. My name is Justine. I am a co-host of the podcast Pod Appétit Gourmet Takes, and I am joined by my other co-hosts, LJ and Meg. They are up here on the stage with me. And our podcast is a podcast where we review and recap all kinds of food shows in bite-sized seasons. And you can find us on your favorite podcatcher or podappetitpodcast.com. And today it is our pleasure to be talking with Valerie Musser of Chef Lenny the Lizard. Valerie is a food stylist, recipe developer, digital content creator, and the mastermind behind Chef Lenny the Lizard. And you may know Chef Lenny the Lizard from Instagram, People Magazine, or even the Drew Barrymore Show. Chef Lenny is a bearded dragon who shows off his culinary skills and his adorable miniature chef's hats in the kitchen and in his cookbook, Chef Lenny Cooking for Humans. And you can find Chef Lenny on Instagram at Who's a Good Lizard. Welcome, Valerie.
Hello.
All right, while we're waiting for people to come up on stage, Valerie, we want to know, how did you first come up with the idea for Chef Lenny?
Well, it actually all kind of happened organically. I've been in the food and beverage industry for many, many years. And when COVID hit, kind of out of boredom, we were trying to come up with ideas to entertain ourselves. And it ended up being making food and having our lizard pose with it for our couple hundred friends on Instagram. And we were doing like national days. We were kind of doing a lot of different stuff and didn't really have a focus. But we noticed that people loved the tiny food. So we just kind of went with that. And here we are.
So many good things to come out of boredom.
Hi, Valerie. Thanks for joining us today. So I have another question. How long have you had Lenny? Is he the first bearded dragon that you've had, or have you had bearded dragons before him?
He is the first reptile that we have ever had. So we've had him for 3.5 years now. We got him as a baby lizard from a local pet shop here in the Seattle area. And kind of clueless. We were definitely those people that got a lizard without a whole lot of knowledge. But through the Instagram community and other reptile communities, we have luckily learned lots about bearded dragons. And now we actually have 3.
Wow.
Yeah.
So I'm from India. And what do you think about Indian food?
Oh my goodness. Well, we love Indian food, and we actually live in a community where the majority of our neighbors are Eastern Indians. So we have tons of Indian restaurants here in this area. And actually, we eat a lot of Indian food in the summertime. I don't know why that happens, but we do. Lenny just made a mini tikka masala just the other day with some garlic naan on the side.
Mom, do you ever tried samosa or jalebis?
I would love to do some samosas. I think it would be really, really cute. I will put that on my long list of food ideas for sure.
Thank you for your question. So Valerie, has Lenny always been a big foodie?
Actually, he's a huge food snob. And that's kind of part of the beauty of the photography, I guess. A lot of people ask, like, how does Lenny not eat that? Or, does he ever taste the people food? And the answer is no, because it's actually really hard for me to even get Lenny to eat his own food. He is very particular, and he will only eat certain things at certain times of the day, and prefers his greens in a smoothie form, hand fed to him. So I guess in a way he's a foodie, just a very snobby one.
You anticipated some of our questions. I was curious to know whether Lenny ever ate any of the human food. So you say that he's a food snob. I think I've seen him eating some mealworms on your account. So what does he eat?
Yeah, so he does love his worms, but those are actually really fatty. So we only do those as treats. And that's when we show him eating the bugs, that's really just kind of like a snack or a treat, because his regular diet consists of a bunch of like different greens. He loves collards and mustard and dandelion, but it has to be blended up in like a smoothie form because he won't actually just eat his salads, which is kind of a hassle. But he loves raspberries. And then some of those bugs that you see are also black soldier fly larvae. Those are like his favorite, which is a great way of getting them calcium, which is really important for their diet.
What advice, Valerie, would you give people who are thinking about making food for their pets?
As far as human food goes, like tiny food props?
Yeah.
Well, definitely find out first if your pet is food motivated. So with our other two guys, we have two other male bearded dragons. Nobody ever sees them featured with tiny human food props because they would indeed eat it, which could be very unsafe. I like to kind of joke around that Lenny is a professional, but that's actually kind of the truth. He has been posing with tiny food for 3 years. And I honestly feel like he knows that food is not for him because he will look at it. But if you put a raspberry on a plate next to him, he will know that the raspberry is for him and not the tiny falafel, for example. So if your pet is really food motivated, it's probably not the best style of photography to do with them unless you're going to like do like little salads that have, pet safe ingredients in it, or maybe even make we have a dog. You could make like your own homemade dog biscuits, and that could be kind of cute. But definitely make sure that it's going to be safe for them. So I would not do this with Lenny if he was going to eat the foods.
Gotcha. Got to keep Lenny safe. All right,
Yeah.
Steak and Salt, you're on the stage.
Yeah, my question is, does Lenny make steak? As you know, my name is Steak and Salt, so I love steak.
So the closest thing he did to steak was he made a beef Wellington, but I actually just put little pinwheel steaks on my list of things that I would like to create sometime this year. We try and do like a new dish. I mean, honestly, almost every day, but we do run out of ideas. So maybe I could put a little tomahawk on there or something. That could be pretty fun.
That sounds great. Tomahawk steaks are the best. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Great question. Thank you. So Valerie, what do you do in order to miniaturize human foods? Like, how do you go about doing that? What are some of your considerations?
So everything I make is almost exactly the same that it would be as like a human-sized portion. Like today, I don't actually think I've posted it on Reddit yet. I put it on Instagram this morning, but we made tiny falafel. I was hungry and looking for food for myself to eat, and I wanted some falafel. So I made itty bitty falafels alongside the large-sized ones that I made for myself. So most of the time I'm making like a human-sized version, and then I'll just take a little bit of whatever that is and turn it into a miniaturized version to use that day or for the next day and get ahead with my social medias. But it's really, as far as like portions go, it's way easier to make the human-sized version and then do a small version from that than trying to divide, your ingredients into a scale that's that small. Most of Lenny's furniture is 1/6 scale. So I would say the food, I try to keep it around that as well. And yeah, just, go with big food and take a little tiny bit of it and make it tiny.
And on the topic of tiny things, did you make Chef Lenny's in your photos you've got his like whole kitchen set up with like his fridge and his stove and his like tiny KitchenAid, like did you make all of that stuff yourself?
I wish I was that crafty, but no. A lot of the things, like his furniture, the kitchenette and the refrigerator are from a company that we love to buy stuff from because it's made of metal. It's like really high quality. The refrigerator actually has like working lights in the freezer and the refrigerator part. So it's very realistic. I mean, I would love a kitchen like this, but all the little bits and bobs are either from thrift stores or something of my daughters. I have 2 daughters that liked little things when they were younger. And then we find a lot of stuff online, like Etsy and Amazon, all over the place. But it's been like a labor of love. Like at this point, 3 years later, we have like 4 tiny spices. Like I want more, but they're hard to find.
That's so cute.
Can you tell us more about the cookbook? How did Lenny get a book deal?
So we are actually self-published, and it was something that, again, bred out of boredom here in the middle of COVID, stuck at home. I work in food service, so obviously I wasn't working like at all and didn't know what to do with myself or my daughters. And so we just we had like, I think at that time, maybe 4,000 followers on Instagram. And we thought we were pretty cool because that seemed like a lot. And we were like, oh, what can we give back to our followers? Some people do stickers, and we wanted to do something unique. And we were like, maybe we should make like a little cookbook. People might like that. And we can throw some photos in there and some original recipes and give that back to our fans. And so we went through one of the self-publishing agencies and put the book together in a couple of months. That was really neat, trying to figure out how to use Photoshop and all that stuff without having prior knowledge, and put the book together and got it out just like right before the holidays, and people loved it. And that's kind of when the Lenny thing kind of took off. Like some people heard about Lenny's book and the whole COVID crisis was happening. So it was like a little bit of a imaginary world that people could kind of just dive into and not have to focus on everything else that was going around.
That's awesome. I like the fantasy of Lenny and the set you were talking about and the little chef's hats. Did you make the chef's hats?
No, I actually a woman who makes all of Lenny's hats. She's incredible. So all of his hats are custom made. The only thing that I make is the food, and I put it all together, and occasionally I take fabric and I cut it out in a rectangle for a tablecloth, but that's my limited crafting talents.
So Valerie, were you into crafting and cooking before the Chef Lenny thing evolved? Was that something that was always kind of a hobby of yours, or did it come with creating Chef Lenny and his whole persona?
I had never in my life made tiny food. So that was definitely new. I was a chef for 20 odd years or so at this point. But I'm not really, I didn't really do like dollhouse miniatures or anything like that. I mean, I have daughters, but it was just kind of like their toys, I guess. So no, I mean, my crafting was very limited to like, I can crochet and maybe draw once in a while, but it was definitely boosted by the Chef Lenny idea. And yeah, I had never tried to make tiny food before, and I found it to be it's really fun.
What were your first tiny foods that you tried to make tiny?
The first thing that I can remember doing, because I was actually way back on his Instagram the other day, and apparently it was raisin bread.
Did you find it difficult to adjust the first time you did it?
I remember that it actually was so easy that's when we were kind of like, well, what else can we make tiny? And I think the next one was like cinnamon rolls. And from there, it was like soups obviously are pretty easy because, you just put any soup in a tiny bowl. And so then it was just like, we need tiny bowls, and now we need tiny cups. And it just grew and grew from there. But no, I actually did not find the tiny food making to be that difficult. It's a lot easier than it appears.
I would think with the raisin bread, I'd be afraid that he might mistake some of those raisins for one of those larvae he loves so much.
Right. But yeah, that was definitely at first, I had my daughters like on either side of the table, and we were using we didn't do reels, so there was no video, and it's a lot easier to kind of change the depth on photography. So he was at that's early stages of the Chef Lenny world. He wasn't very close to the food. It was just more or less the angle. And I had a lot of assistance since, we were all at home.
Got it. It looks like we do just have a comment in the comment section from XO Weird Al, who says, Lenny always makes me smile. Thank you for sharing him with us. So we have a fan in the comment section. So Valerie, you were saying before that you started your career as a professional chef. So could you tell us a little bit about your career, what led you to cooking, or what inspired you to pursue that as your career?
So I actually did not go to culinary school. I went to college for something completely different that I do not use at all. But growing up in the mountains, I grew up in ski resort areas and found work to be incredibly seasonal, as snow is. And so in the summertime, obviously, you had to find other work, and cooking was just something that was easy to grab onto because it's everywhere. Everybody needs to eat. It allowed me to travel. It allowed me to not starve because, you get free food when you work in kitchens. And it filled that gap between ski seasons. So I started pretty young. I think I got my first cooking job when I was 13. And it was something that no matter where I was in the United States, there's always a restaurant somewhere that'll hire you regardless of experience. And I found that I really liked it. I liked the people. I liked the busyness. The whole atmosphere was something that worked well with my personality. And it just kind of grew from there. I just kept at it and worked really hard and made it from literally the bottom as a dishwasher to the top as an executive chef.
That's so interesting. And it's really nice to hear, like, there's lots of different pathways to getting, going through that career path. You don't necessarily have to have gone to college and studied the right things. You can make it loads of different ways. So we do have a comment, Valerie, in the comment section from Sunbeams, our moderator. They say, has Lenny or Valerie ever made food with bugs before? Crickets have been trending lately in things like tacos. So just wondering if, I guess that is something that you've ever tackled with Lenny or are planning to.
So that is something that has actually been on my mind lately. And I don't know if anybody has seen the viral yogurt bark thing going around lately, but we do have this powder that it's like a whole food product for bearded dragons, and you mix it with hot water and it kind of gets gelatinous. And I had this idea the other day of making it on a sheet pan like you would with that viral yogurt bark, but putting like maybe blueberries and some superworms into it. It would be totally disgusting, but it would be 100% bearded dragon safe, and I think it would be pretty hilarious.
That would be great. We've got someone on stage who I recognize from a previous talk, Dream SMP MP3.
Oh, yes.
Back.
Hello, I've been here before once. The tiny foods. About the yogurt popsicles. I wanted to try it for like my cat. I wanted to put like his wet food, probably some lactose-free yogurt because cats are lactose intolerant, and And I know you wanted to, and I know who the lizard person. You decided you want to make it for your bearded dragon. I'm gonna make it for my kitty.
I think that's an awesome idea.
I don't know if he's gonna like the yogurt. I mean, he tried it before. I mean, I don't think he even likes it.
Well, it would be worth a try. You could always get some of those silicone molds. They make them in all different shapes, and maybe you could get like a little fish-shaped one, and then that would be adorable.
Yeah, I'll try that. See, I mean, I've seen those online, like people making those popsicles, like for their cats and dogs, like put some. I saw one that you put I think fresh or frozen berries, water, and some other stuff, like yogurt. Then they like blend it all up, put it in those like popsicle molds. I saw paws, bones, even like some stars, and then they give it either on their dog's meal or like give it to them as a treat.
No, I think that would be super cute. And if you do it, then you have to share it with me because I would love to see it.
I will.
Yeah, thanks for joining us and thanks for your question. Going to the questions in the comment section, we do have a question from Chansungism. Excuse me for my pronunciation. They ask, what's the hardest dish for you to make when everything is so tiny?
So the hardest thing that I've had is probably the tiny cakes. I don't know if anybody remembers one of my very first posts on the food subreddit was that tiny carrot cake. And it had like the little piped on carrots on the top and it was 2 layers. That was insane. Like I felt like a crazy person making it myself. And it was definitely the most difficult thing. Getting those layers to not completely crumble was very hard. And then I'm not a cake decorator. That's just not an avenue of the culinary world that I have delved into. I try like every year on people's birthdays, but it's usually kind of ugly. But that was so far the hardest thing.
So what would you say, Valerie, is the most unexpected thing that you've had happen to you or experienced because of the success of Chef Lenny? Like what's happened that's really surprised you, or if that's in a good way or a bad way?
To me it's just been kind of overall just amazing. The positivity of like comments and messages that I received from people from like all over the world, from different backgrounds, and just like everywhere. Everybody, it's a place people can go that like nobody can find anything to dislike. I mean, of course, I get some people that are like, oh, he's not in his natural environment because, I don't live in Australia. But other than that, it's like 98% positive. And that has been not only just so uplifting and motivating, but just, really surprising in today's world of it not being super positive everywhere. And to have that just as like this online community is totally awesome.
That's amazing that you found such a positive community on the internet. That sounds amazing. So you have a cookbook, Chef Lenny Cooking for Humans. What are some of your favorite recipes in that cookbook?
So the funny thing about that cookbook is it's not a ton of recipes. I think it's actually only like 36, but they are our 36 favorite, like tried and true, the ones that we recycle the most in our household recipes. They were from my cooking journal that I have had for, I don't even know, probably 18 years or something. And, they're comfort food. It was kind of what everybody was looking for at the beginning stages of COVID, during the lockdown. No restaurants are open. Nobody knew how to cook, but everybody like wanted grandma's banana bread and chicken pot pie and all of those things that made you feel like, you were back at home with your parents or something. But so all of the recipes that are in that cookbook are absolute family favorites. And I also included several blank pages in between sections so that people could add their own family favorites. It's what I call a working cookbook. So it has my recipes that are my favorite in it, but you can put your favorite recipes in there as well, or change it to, gluten-free or vegan. That was something that I had offered to the public in the back of the book. I've actually had a few people reach out via email I help them convert it to dairy-free or whatnot. So then you have a little collection. You get my recipes, your recipes, or your grandma's recipes or grandpa's famous ribs, all in the same cookbook without having to have multiple volumes.
So when you're cooking a recipe for Lenny for the Instagram post, do you usually double up? Do you make like a recipe that's like for your family that day? And then also Lenny gets to indulge on Instagram in the sort of fantasy way, or are they totally separate from your everyday life?
Sometimes they are separate. Like I'll just have some leftovers in the fridge that I can make something silly out of. Like, okay, I made beef Wellington one time, and it was literally, I mean, it's beef, but it was a beef hot dog with some puff pastry. And we, put some mustard on the hot dog and then wrapped it up in the puff pastry and oiled it, or, put the egg wash on it. And so that was like part of a hot dog. And I'm pretty sure somebody probably ate the rest, but we obviously didn't have hot dog beef Wellington that night for ourselves. So it kind of just depends on what it is. Like when Lenny made his tiny ramen, that was my ramen because I love ramen and it's my guilty pleasure. But so it just, if it's something I can use a little bit of and make it happen, then I'll do it with our own food. But if not, like the beef Wellington hot dog, then I'll just do it the other way. So it varies.
Can you tell us, because you've mentioned that you've kind of self-learnt a lot of the kind of aspects of creating, Chef Lenny and his, social media persona and that kind of thing. And I just wondered, because it's such a new job or career, I suppose. I mean, I guess it's been going for about 10 years now, but a lot of people kind of fall into social media a little bit. What do you think has been the hardest skill that you've had to kind of learn from scratch as part of, doing what you do with Lenny?
Well, as an older millennial, I wasn't as tech savvy as I guess I would have liked to be. And with Instagram, and we're also on TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, Reddit, I mean, just about everything. It's learning all of the different social media platforms and algorithms and keywords and long chain keywords, and just getting into an environment that growing up at ski resorts and working in kitchens was just not something that came naturally for me. But I really have wanted to learn this side of things. So it's just been, it's constant learning. I mean, every day I swear that algorithm changes, and it's difficult.
Yeah. And every day a new feature comes out, right? Like Reels, you're like, oh
yeah,
now.
That's been crazy. Reels has been insane, but luckily I figured that out.
Yeah,
we definitely go through like the exact same things you mentioned as podcasters. Just there's one part of the job, and then there's social media, which is the big part of the job.
Yeah, I mean, I went to school and I took business, like marketing classes, but they were for like legit marketing, not social media marketing. So this has been like taking little bits of my education, but like the opposite end of the spectrum.
So yeah, let's jump back into talking about that creative process. I want to hear all about it. Do you have like a social media calendar? What steps do you take once you have a concept? Like, how involved is Lenny?
I really wish I was that organized, but I think that my ADHD prevents me from making plans. So I wing it almost every day. I do have a National Day calendar hanging at my desk, but half the time I forget to look at it. I do like using that because it's fun. Like National Donut Day is, I mean, everybody loves that. That's a good one. But I don't have a very good a plan, because then I would have to grocery shop for it. So I just kind of roll with it. And like this morning, I wanted falafel for breakfast like a weirdo. So I made falafel. And then I'm not stuck with one certain thing. I do food styling and recipe development for a major produce company, and Lenny is involved with that. So when I do my actual real work of making recipes with their produce, I make tiny versions of that. And that's really the most structured thing that I do. And then occasionally we have paid promotions with like other companies, and it's often just their product. And it's pretty easy to just, to set up product and take photos. I mean, Lenny definitely has to be in the mood, and I try to get everything done in the morning. That's when he's ready to participate. And, he's a lizard, so he's going to do what he wants to do, and I can't make him do anything. So we go with Lenny's mood of the day.
Lizards are such prima donnas, right?
They really are.
We have another comment in the Reddit thread. Jesse XZX says, so happy to see Chef Lenny on Reddit. Good to see you, Chef Lenny fans, joining in. If you want to ask a question to Valerie and Lenny, you can do so live here in the Reddit app by clicking on the hand icon. Or if you're a little shy, you can leave a question or a comment in the Reddit thread, and we'll be checking that out as well. And a question that I had is, about bearded dragons. You said that Lenny is your first bearded dragon. You say he can be a little bit picky with his food and maybe not always the easiest to work with. Do you think that you'll get more bearded dragons in your life? Has he inspired this new interest in reptiles for you?
So we have 3 total, and Lenny was our first. And then I had no plans of getting more. I mean, I don't think most people do plan that. I mean, maybe they do, but I certainly didn't. But so we had Lenny. Things were going well with his little Instagram. And I don't know if you've heard of that weird app Nextdoor. I unfortunately downloaded that one day. I mean, we're glad we did because of our other bearded dragon, Fievel. He was on the Nextdoor app. A lady said that she had an iguana in her backyard, and here in Washington State, you shouldn't have any of those types of lizards in your backyard. But it wasn't an iguana; it was indeed a bearded dragon, and he was loose and wild in the woods. And it actually took my daughter and I 2 days to find him, and then we could never locate his owners, so we ended up with bearded dragon number 2 and nursed him back to health, and he is still a little feral. He's pretty wild and free. And he's a little bit crazy, but we love him. And then because of finding him, we got contacted by this young girl who was a high schooler at the time. And she said, oh, I'm going to be going to college. When I go to college, could you adopt my bearded dragon? And I'm like, sure, she's in high school. She's never going to keep my number. And she did. She kept my number, and she called me like a year and a half later. So we have a senior guy. Well, he's almost 8, and his name is Grandpa Walnut. And so now we have 3, but that is literally it. No more. They all have their own Instagrams. Grandpa Walnut has a book club. That's pretty fun because he's a grandpa. And 3 male bearded dragons is crazy. They all are separate because they'll fight.
Grandpa Walnut, I love it. I'm joining his book club.
It's pretty cute. He's adorable. He wears glasses.
Can I ask you, Valerie, is Fievel named after the mouse in An American Tail, or is it from somewhere else?
Yes, he is, because it was so sad. Like the first day that we went out to go find a bearded dragon, like a tiny little 6-month-old bearded dragon, like in our forest that's like Jurassic Park with huge ferns, we couldn't find him. And I was out there, my daughter at the time, I think she was like 12. It was a while, like 2 years ago. So I don't know, 12 or 13. And we went home that night, and I jokingly was kind of like, oh, you remember that part in the movie when he's singing about how they're under the same moon? And then, of course, that made us all want to cry. And It was a terrible thing to even say, but we found him, and then the name just kind of stuck because he was the little mouse.
I love that. That's my favorite song.
It's really a heart-wrenching song. Right?
I'm so pleased you said that he was named after Fievel from the movie. Yeah. I've just before we started this talk, I was looking through Lenny's Instagram and all his. We sort of alluded to it earlier. All of his reels that you've started doing since Instagram have made more of a thing of video. Where do you get your ideas now for video content for Lenny and his cooking adventures?
So the Reels thing was huge change for us. I mean, like I like to joke around with, because also with my real job, not to be confused with Reels, my actual career with food photography, moving into the world of TikTok with that, it's very easy to kind of like fib in a way with any type of photography, with Photoshop and food styling. I mean, people use like glue and all sorts of crazy things to make everything look perfect, but it is really hard to lie on video. So going from, using certain angles so that the food, looks like it's close to Lenny, but it actually isn't, into a world of Instagram Reels and TikTok was like night and day. And it was crazy. So basically what I do is with every reel that I make of him with the tiny food, and I just kind of like zoom around and pan around his little kitchen and whatnot. I also do a still photo, because that's my favorite. I still like still photos, and the reels have been a huge like learning curve. So it is different. And then I started, doing a little bit more hands-on, like I'll add the whipped cream, do his coffee in the video or whatnot. But I've had to it's learning something new like every day. And I often don't have a plan. So we just kind of go with it. So for example, the falafel this morning, I keep using that because it's still sitting on my table. I broke the falafel in half because a lot of people don't realize the food is real. It's not a dollhouse miniature.
Would you ever, or have you considered leaving your day job to do social media full time?
I kind of do already, because I work at home and it's all through social media. I create the recipes that go on to the produce company that I'm freelance. So I kind of work with them rather than for them. And so all of my recipes are available on their websites. And then I do their TikTok. I make the videos and give them a video that they can post onto their TikTok and their Instagram. And then everything else that I do is either on Lenny's Instagram, my catering page Instagram, which both of those cross post over to Facebook.
I see that you have a lot of cute little miniaturized food items like Skippy or Eggo waffles, or there's little Le Creuset Dutch ovens, a tiny Trader Joe's bag. Are these all like branded partnerships, or do you just sometimes include these because they're your favorite products? And kind of like along those lines, has there been a brand partnership that you were like surprised by or always really wanted to work with, anything like that?
So we all love Le Creuset. Those are cherished. Those are all magnets, and you can buy those little pots through Williams Sonoma. I think that's where they sell them, but those I've had for probably 10 years. And, I just I tag them in everything to see if they ever want to do a collab. I think that would be pretty awesome. And then like the little tiny foods, like the peanut butter and some of the little refrigerator items, those are mini brands. Those surprise ball things you can get at like Target, and those are kind of fun because that's a great way to fill the fridge. It actually happens to be the 1/6 scale, which is appropriate for all of this. But we have done a couple like collabs. I mean, I definitely want more. Trader Joe's is a hard nut to crack. I don't even know like how to even begin with that. I just keep tagging people and stuff, hoping that someday they'll catch on with the Chef Lenny trend.
Totally. I love the Le Creuset. I need to get some of those myself, some of the mini ones.
Yeah, it's like a 6-pack of magnets. They're great.
So what would you say are your top tips, Valerie, if we wanted to start creating Instagram content and tiny food content, if someone wanted to do this sort of thing at home?
So the biggest piece of advice I can give anybody that I found has been successful for me is being consistent. Consistency seems to kind of be the key with the tricky thing that is of the algorithm. National day calendars can be really helpful because keywords now, when you're tippity-tapping your information on Instagram, are really important and can boost you in the algorithm and bump you up so that you get more visibility. Good lighting, that's really important. I actually just invested in more lighting, so we're going to be really bright these days. But with the tiny foods, I mean, just making fun, trendy food. People love trendy food, like any kind of viral Rice Krispie treat thing. What was it? It was like a rice cake that I made the other day with apples and chocolate on top, and it was like the rice cake trend. So paying attention to social media food trends and new exciting dishes that professional chefs are promoting on their own platforms. All of that stuff people love and will get you more exposure.
Exactly. Now, you just mentioned new lights, and I did want to hear about what cameras you're using, what lighting packages you're using, what even editing software you're using to make these videos for Instagram and TikTok.
Oh, you guys are going to love it because it's so ridiculous. So I use my iPhone for all of my photos and all of my videos because swapping between devices is just too much. And I have very limited time with Lenny. I don't expect him to be very patient because he is a reptile and kind of bougie. So we kind of try to do things as quick as possible. I usually get the scene set up pretty fast. What I'm using like right now, what I use to hold my phone if I'm doing like a hands-on project with Lenny is I have the Loom Cube tripod with the cool microphone, and it has a light that adjusts to like 3,200 Kelvin or whatever it's called. I don't know. It's like lights, but it goes really, really warm and really, really cool. What I just got the other day is this super snazzy $35 softbox, and that is life-changing. That is the best investment I've made.
What's a softbox?
Like it's like a tripod, and it has like a big fabric dome and then like a white screen on the front, and it has like a bulb inside, and it projects light forward, so it illuminates everything in front of it, but with a very like a filtered light, so it's very soft. I guess is the best way to explain it with my limited photography knowledge.
Got it. Yeah, we're always looking for photo tips ourselves since we also have an Instagram account to keep up.
Yeah, the softbox is really cool. I really liked this Loom Cube thing. I got like the it's like the social media kit or something. It's for doing like forward facing videos. Like if you had, a live blog or something. It would have come in handy today if we were chatting face to face. It's really great for that. It's also great for Lenny's little kitchen because depending on the food I'm using, sometimes I need like a warmer light, and then sometimes I need a cooler light to really bring out the correct colors since it's video rather than photography these days with the Reels and the TikToks. And then as far as the programs go, I love this app called PixArt. Again, when I find something that works, I usually stick with it. And I got PixArt like 3 years ago from the advice of like my, at the time, 10-year-old. She was like, oh, this is really great. It's got stickers. And I was like, oh, cool. So I downloaded it. I pay for the gold membership. It literally does everything I need it to do. And I highly recommend it because I've never needed anything else.
Awesome. What is next for Chef Lenny? Is there anything in the wings that you can give us a sneak preview of?
So we just had our 50,000 follower giveaway, and I thought that was really cool like 2 weeks ago. And then suddenly we got like 10,000 more followers, and we're maybe even at, I don't know, almost at 60,000 right now. So I have been reaching out to a bunch of companies that carry products that I like. So I'm hoping that maybe something connects with one of them now that we're getting a little bit higher in the ranks. I had something really cool the other day. I had a celebrity follow. So that was awesome. So who knows? I don't know. The world is our oyster.
Who was it?
David Harbour.
Ooh, of Stranger Things fame.
Yeah.
That's amazing. From David Harbour to the world.
Yeah, I know. I was just like, okay, well, if he's following us, then everybody will, right?
Yeah, why not? Talking of celebrities, I mean, obviously that's an exciting moment in your career with Lenny and Lenny's career. What would you say is some of the other big highlights or exciting things that have come about from going on this journey with Lenny?
So I guess it was January of 2020 is when our book was found by some media outlets. And that's when it kind of started going crazy. And then we were invited onto the Kelly Clarkson show. That was definitely the most, that was the first thing that happened. And it was insane. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how to do this. And we were invited on there to talk to Kelly about our book and what it was doing. And that was just an honor, of course. That was really neat. And then I got a phone call from the Drew Barrymore show, and I actually got to go onto that show and virtually, it was because, COVID, virtually bake a cake with Drew and her bearded dragon, Jeremy. And that was awesome. That was really neat. I was super nervous. I usually, work in kitchens where I don't have to communicate with people, and but I've gotten a little bit better at it. So that was really neat. And then we were in a PetSmart commercial, and I actually had that whole film crew like at my house, like making a commercial in my dining room. So that was an awesome experience to have. I had never been around anything like that. So, just little things here and there. Self magazine, People magazine, The Week, all of those, they all did articles on Lenny. And that's a lizard, and it's my lizard. So it was super neat.
That is so amazing and so humbling, and congratulations on all your success.
Thank you. It's been a fun journey.
So what are some of your favorite foods to cook for your own animals, your family?
Right. Well, again, anything that's in that cookbook is definitely one of our favorite foods. I think if my daughters could, they would eat sushi every day. Probably not made by me, though. They like it from, sushi places. But that, and I've made my dog some apple carrot dog treats, and that's been pretty exciting. But we do, as a family, sit down and eat dinner together every night. I think that's important.
All right, Valerie, have you considered expanding the Chef Lenny universe? Maybe another pet? I know you already have Instagram accounts for your other bearded dragons, but maybe another type of pet, maybe another type of crafting, anything like that?
Well, we did get a puppy in October, and that's kind of like a new child. So that was our main, that was our newest adventure. And I think with the puppy, who is still a puppy, and the 3 lizards, I feel a little bit like that's probably enough. But always trying to expand the Chef Lenny world, whether it be some new merch. Sometimes I do t-shirt designs when I'm really bored. And then obviously trying to get more business partners, because it's really fun and people love to see Lenny with the branded items. Well, some people do.
I think everybody does. And I know it would be a massive challenge, but the thought of a puppy and a tiny food account is quite something. That would be amazing.
Yeah, the puppy, I'm glad I got him in October, because I knew I could dedicate our long, really awful winter to training a dog, and it worked out. Now he's pretty good. Obviously, He's left me alone for almost an hour, so we're good.
Oh, sweet. So we're coming to the top of the hour now, which is all the time that we have left with Valerie and all of her lovely things that she's had to share with us about her time creating Chef Lenny, the brand, and supporting him in his career as a tiny food chef. So Valerie, where can people find more of you? Where can people buy your book and stay in touch with what's next for Chef Lenny?
So I'm most active on Instagram. That's definitely my main platform. And TikTok is quickly catching up. That was, I think I started the TikTok in February. I recently started a YouTube channel, and I post a lot of the same little short reels and TikToks to YouTube Shorts. But I've also been including some some videos of me actually making how I make the tiny food, because it's been a while. A lot of people want to know like how I make, a tiny cake or the tiny gyozas and whatnot. So I have been wanting to put more focus onto building those videos and showing people like how to create the tiny foods themselves. And I think I have like 2 videos of me doing the tiny foods and then several shorts. I just started it less than a month ago. So that's going to be kind of a newer platform when I have extra time on my hands. And then as far as where you can get his book's like available wherever books are sold, Amazon, Target, online. It's literally everywhere, and it's available internationally. So that's really handy because we have a global following rather than just a domestic one.
Wonderful. Yeah, no, that's been great. Thank you so much, Valerie, for spending time with us. If anyone's interested in hearing more about us, myself, Meg, and Justine at Pod Appétit, you can find us on your favourite podcatcher or at our website at podappetitpodcast.com. We release new episodes every other Monday, and you'll hear this conversation with Valerie in an upcoming episode. And for more Reddit talks, we don't have any currently confirmed, but if you keep an eye out here at r/food, we'll let you know when we've got another one planned and who it is and when you can join. So yeah, thank you, Valerie, for everything that you had to share. It was so interesting hearing about your journey with Lenny and hearing about him and all of your other bearded dragons and other pets. So thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me. It was a good time. This was my first Reddit talk, so that's always exciting.
Yeah, no, they are. They can be a little, Wild Westy, but we got there in the end.
Yes, we got there.
Yeah. So thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye.
Thank you, Valerie and Lenny.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Pod Appétit Gourmet Takes.
We'd love to hear from you, so find us on Twitter and Instagram at pod_appétit.
And on Facebook at Pod Appétit Podcast.
You can also email us at podappetitpodcast@gmail.com and find all of our episodes on our website, podappetitpodcast.com.
First impressions can take as little as 6 seconds to make. But in these fleeting moments, whose amazing stories don't we get to hear? That's where Beyond 6 Seconds comes in. Join me, Carolyn Keel, as I uncover stories of life and creativity, triumph and struggle, with the focus on neurodiversity. I'm featuring neurodivergent people whose stories shatter misconceptions, break stigma, and showcase vibrance and diversity. To listen, go to beyond6seconds.net or follow the show in your favorite podcast player.